to Cincinnati Soccer Talk, powered by FC Cincinnati supporters. Get in touch, soccer fans. Email us at cincysoccertalk@spmt.tv. Now, here is your host, Nick Suberling.
Hey, what's happening, Cincinnati Soccer Talkers? Welcome to the next episode of Cincinnati Soccer Talk. Hope you and yours had a wonderful Thanksgiving. I know my family did. Lots to discuss today. I mean, it doesn't get old, does it? When it comes to FC Cincinnati and soccer-specific stadium discussion, my guess is a good portion of tonight's show will be dealing with just that, especially with what happened today down at City Hall with the Cincinnati City Council meeting today and having a discussion about building it here in the Queen City. Of course, we want to hear from you. We're going to have the King's Hammer hotline open all evening long, 513-399-KICK. Of course, if you don't want to get in touch with us on the phone, you want to chat with us on Twitter, you can, at Cincy Soccer Talk. You can also email us, feedback@cincinnatysoccertalk.com. Captains! Hey, we got an episode captain this week. We've got to give it up to Jack Emery. Big clap for Jack Emery wearing the armband for this episode of Cincinnati Soccer Talk. Jack, we appreciate your support of our podcast and our show. Thank you very much. If you want to wear the armband for an episode of Cincinnati Soccer Talk, log on to cincinnatysoccertalk.com/support. All right, let's welcome in my tag team partners for this week. We'll start with the one and only Brad Weigel. Brad, how are you, my friend?
Oh, man, dude, I'm finally on the rebound. I've gone through the whole gamut of emotions in the last 24 hours from last night's news about the Oakley Community Council possibly not going with our site to now it's passed through committee and it's looking good. So just glad to be through a large portion of this and just have to give props to a lot of the Build It Here guys. They've really spearheaded this, and Max, Colin, and Chris and all the others, just great job. I can't say enough about what you guys have done so far.
Looking forward to getting your take, Brad. You're kind of our political science guy on our cast. You seem to know the ins and outs of the public affairs. We'll just leave it at that.
I don't know if that's a good or bad thing.
Believe it or not, we actually have both Weigel twins on tonight. Not the way you're expecting, because we've got Griffin back, and he's got Angry Brian behind him. What's up, Griffin?
Hey, Shubes. Yep, Angry Brian is with me. And, Shubes, after last night's news of Oakley not supporting, Oakley City not supporting the stadium, I jumped up on Amazon, got a Cyber Monday deal on a orange and blue raft, but it turns out I might not need that.
That's right. Cyber Monday. You cracked me up. I guess we're celebrating Cyber Monday in our own little way by doing this show tonight, but good to have you back, Griff. Looking forward to getting your take on everything that's gone down with this stadium. And, of course, last but not least,
I was like, yeah,
really glad to have back the one and only, probably reeling after what happened over the weekend to his Liverpool FC. Thought they had 3 points in the bag. They draw to Chelsea, but glad to have Yosef back. Yosef, what's going on, buddy?
Not too much. Yeah. Unfortunate weekend for me, but, hey, we had the good news of at least some hope for Oakley. No matter how you feel, I think it's good to have some possibilities. So it was an exciting day to say the least, and I can tell a lot of people are in tune with just from how many people came up and asked me what was going on or what we thought. I can tell a lot of people are in tune, whether they're soccer fans or not, with how the stadium's going to go. So it's been an interesting, as Brad said, 24 hours.
Yeah, I mean, interesting is a good way of putting it, because there was a time where we thought this was almost starting to look like a done deal for FC Cincinnati in Cincinnati, and then all of a sudden we're hearing all these no votes from people we thought were going to be yeses, and then it turns out it gets out of committee. So, Brad, again, you're our public affairs guy. Kind of explain to folks who don't know the process, because a lot of people thought today was done and dusted. Like, they thought once that vote came out that it was over with. But no, we still have one more step coming up here on Wednesday. But explain to everybody what today was and what it meant for the project.
Well, today was your finance and budget committee meeting. So just like anytime, most of us are familiar with Congress, you submit a bill or an ordinance in Cincinnati, it's got to go to a committee first and get approved through committee. But what makes the Budget and Finance Committee interesting is that it controls the money and the purse strings for the city. So naturally, all 9 city council members want to be on it. So 8 of them were there today. Wendell Young was out. I think he's recovering from pretty serious surgery. So prayers with him. But so today was your big opportunity to submit input and feedback if you were a member of the public, as well as they held different interviews from groups both for and against it. So just consider it very similar to kind of what you would think with the federal government and having to go through committee, and then it has to get approved through the committee to go to the floor. So we saw it get approved today with 5 yeses, 2 noes, and an abstention. Your abstention was Yvette Simpson. I think everybody knows that the noes were PG and Chris Seelbach, and the yeses were Councilman Winburn, Smitherman, Mann, Flynn, and Councilwoman Murray. So it'll go to the actual council chambers in the general meeting Wednesday. I believe it's at 2:00 with the Mayor Cranley will be there to facilitate the meeting, and then if all goes well Wednesday, which we expect it should, we should have our stadium financing plan to submit to MLS.
So when you're watching all of that today, Brad, I mean, talk about the different range of emotions, because I'm sitting here at work trying to catch up via Slack, trying to keep knowing what's happening with everything that's going down. I'm seeing everybody getting excited, and then I'm seeing people getting upset and disappointed and excited again. So, what was going through your head today?
Well, it started off. I think most people, if you're paying attention, you knew there was a good chance that we were going to get 5 votes. There was a very good chance with people who've come out on 700 WW, but I think the biggest thing, and what why we've had a lot of angst over the last week, is that Mayor Cranley, who's been spearheading this thing, has been on vacation. So while he's gone, everybody else is going off on their own tangents and doing this and doing that. And I think that's kind of caused FC Cincinnati and Mayor Cranley to lose the narrative as far as will this thing pass or not. So going into today, and especially last night with the Oakley Community Council basically saying, hey, we don't like the way this financing plan is set up where you're taking our TIF dollars and using it. We would rather have that for something else, such as the Oakley Station, and them going against it. That made me sick to my stomach. I talked to a lot of guys on here, talked to Brian. We couldn't sleep last night. So going into it this morning, I was still kind of hopeful, but you just don't know. You don't know in these things. You never know who's going to get to who last or why these people are doing this. Some of these people might think this is a good idea, but in the long term, if they get caught voting for a stadium, they could be politically damaged. I think PG Sittenfeld comes to mind. If he comes for a stadium and he tries to run for mayor in 4 years, he could be tagged with that stigma in addition to being a flip-flopper on the streetcar. So, that's 2 strikes against him, essentially. So that's just a lot of the stuff that goes into it. You don't know what their political self-interest are or not. And I think Chris Smitherman put it extremely well when he was giving his speech at the end of the day after we kind of knew we were going to get 5 votes. He said, he had to sit down and say what's best for Chris Smitherman and what's best for the city of Cincinnati. And, him speaking with his wife, they really came to the conclusion that it's best for the city of Cincinnati. And I have to agree from him. This is a tremendous investment in the city proper. And I think this is a big, check mark in our books to MLS that we could get our city, our support group on board to build this city, build a stadium in Cincinnati for FC Cincinnati.
Now, I know there were a lot of familiar names and a lot of familiar faces that were down there today who got up and spoke, Joseph. But when you see the supporters and you see the positivity that came from today, how are you feeling right about now?
I'm feeling good. I feel a lot better than I did within the last 24 hours, and I have my own opinion on where the stadium should go, but having options is never a bad idea. And like we alluded to earlier, I really, really want to applaud a lot of those folks in the Build It Here movement, because this has become an emotional topic. and the leadership throughout that movement has done, for the most part, kept a level head about what's been going on. I'm still a bit worried as far as the gap between what's been allotted for funding and what they've said, and they're estimating about $20 million in difference. But we didn't get shut down as far as an Oakley Stadium, and I think Yvette Simpson, whether or not she's reserving judgment, for future financing, or if she is really just going to abstain because she doesn't want to speak against previous statements. Either way, that was a win for us, because we don't want to have us, meaning the people who want it in Oakley, because we don't want, a negative side. I think an abstention, or whatever the word is there, was a win for the Build It Here movement.
How about you, Griff? I know you probably your emotions are up and down as well the last few days.
Yeah, Nick. I didn't watch the complete event, but I watched the majority of it. We had plenty of support there. If you went off certain reporters' takes, I think one reporter said there was about 3,042 against it and 3 for it. That's an exaggeration, but I think we had some good support there. And something I took away from today is something that Mayor Cranley said is, this infrastructure deal is something that could, let's just say we build it in Newport. That land in Oakley is still open for development. Mayor Cranley put it nicely. He said, here in 2 years, talking about this same infrastructure deal only for, a business and not a stadium. So we just got to remember, we're talking about streets, improving streets here to allow that property to be developed.
Yeah, when you put it that way, it sounds much simpler than I'm sure that it really is. But I thought it was great to see, like I said, a lot of the supporters there having a say, speaking up. And one of those guys who's been at the forefront of the Build It Here movement and is really, I got to give him a lot of credit. He has spoken very eloquently about building the stadium here in the city. He's not, I haven't seen it, but I personally feel like he hasn't attacked anybody. He's been pro FC Cincinnati no matter where it's at, but he would prefer the stadium be here in Cincinnati. So we got to give it up to the one and only Max Ellerby, and he joins us now here on the King's Hammer Hotline. Max, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing well, sir. How are you?
Doing great. How do you think today went?
Well, I think today went extremely well. I want to really first and foremost, and the reason I called in is thank everybody for getting involved in this process, regardless of whether you want the stadium in Cincinnati, Newport, Jupiter, nowhere, whatever. Contacting your local officials is not a convenient or easy thing to do. Getting up and speaking is even less easy. And it's an amazing thing that we have come this far, and we have supporters and even opponents speaking up for what they believe in and getting involved in the political process in their community. It's something I've never done before. And it's incredible. Also, writing the history of our club while we're living it is an incredible thing that we're doing right now. It's just amazing all around. Obviously, I'm pleased with the result today. It's not the end. They still have a vote Wednesday, and as you've probably heard during the meeting, there's a lot of details to work out. But what we could have received today was a no. We didn't get that. We got a yes to proceed, and that's an amazing step for this club and the city. And from that perspective, I couldn't be happier.
Now, Max, there was a lot of interesting points that came out of today. We talked about, the difference in parking was brought up. You're talking about pedestrian access, especially to Oakley Station, to help make the Oakley site better. But one of the biggest things in my mind that came out was the fact that time and time again during the day, several council members said this might not even end up in Oakley. What do you think about that? And what other options could we have?
I mean, Jeff has been saying since the beginning that we could potentially win a bid with one site and either want to or be required to pivot to another. There are a lot of reasons that Oakley was picked as the leading site, one of them being, the survey data was showing heavily favoring that location, but it frankly may not be the one that's ultimately chosen. And I would think that maybe a West End would come to mind, or perhaps even sites that I'm sure that the club has identified that haven't necessarily been widely talked about. The good news is that the city is willing to explore those options, and I would suspect that, wherever we do end up, it's probably going to be the right place. Obviously, I hope that is in Cincinnati, but a lot of the dream of, I imagine, a lot of the people listening is West End. And maybe the good news for people who are not quite sold on an Oakley location is that West End is absolutely not out of play at this point. And then, as far as a takeaway from that meeting, that may be something that gives people hope, if there's a lack of a better term on that.
So what's the next step? I mean, obviously we know there's a vote, but I know you've been urging and pleading with fans and supporters of FC Cincinnati to get in touch with your local leadership. What can folks still do?
I honestly keep the foot on the pedal. This thing this thing has been fluid from the beginning, and I would thank all of the council persons for their yes votes. Maybe engage those who were no votes. Maybe a P&G Sittenfeld, and respectfully acknowledge their concerns and maybe urge them to see it in a different light, respectfully, of course. And then, I think from a Build It Here perspective, if we're going to say that we're confident that the votes aren't going to change from now to Wednesday, I would say the focus would be trying to turn Yvette Simpson from abstaining to a yes. That may, get us from, 5 votes to 6. So I would say if there's something that people could still do to make sure this is locked down, continue to engage your local officials, give Yvette Simpson some of your love, continue to encourage the county commission and show them that the leadership that the city council has provided is favorable for this project. That should give them some cover or confidence that they're doing the right thing by supporting this. And it's just keep doing what you're doing. I want to stress, and I don't know if I'm gonna be disappeared for saying this or not, but I got a call saying that this was done one night. It was right before the Spectrum Sports documentary, and I had to smile through a video that I was heavily featured in, waxing poetic about how much I loved Cincinnati, in my mind planning what pre-match would look like for Newport. And then I got a call 30 minutes later saying we were going to fight. And we put out basically a panic mass message saying, hey, contact everyone, write them emails, write them tweets, call them. And we woke up the next morning to a deal that was still alive, and now we're here. So, soapbox aside, your calls, your emails, your tweets do something. They did something. They kept this alive. They might win us an MLS bid. So anytime you have any doubt that your contributions are going to write the history of this club and contribute to what we're doing, don't listen to that doubt. Be belligerently positive, as I've been saying through this exercise. Believe that you can make a difference, because you can. And I promise you that your calls and tweets have pushed this as far as it's gone.
Good stuff, Max. Appreciate you calling in as always, and keep up the tremendous work with the Build It Here movement you've kind of fostered and created. And I got to admit, man, I'm pretty proud of what you've put in, and I think you should be as well.
I really appreciate it, guys. I want to stress that this is not just me. I'm not going to name check anybody. I'll let them not have to be, called out. but I've absolutely not done this on my own. I've had a lot of help, a lot of awesome people helping me out from all over the place, and you guys, graciously allowing me a platform to share my opinion, when there's time to do so. And every time I'm on here, I want to echo the sentiment that, you guys are doing an awesome thing with your free time as a service to us fans. And I really appreciate what you guys do.
Well, we appreciate you, and best of luck coming up on Wednesday, Max.
All right. Thank you, sir. Have a great night.
That's Max Ellerby, one of the man behind the Build It Here group, and is doing a tremendous job.
One of the things that struck me there that was so cool was how he talked about how he was literally, and what we're all doing right now, we are all literally building a club ourselves. His actions with the Build It Here and the Drumline, our CST stuff, it's people doing TIFOs, and it's just great to see all these people getting involved and coming around, this town and this city. It was referenced time and time again this afternoon about how, this is now a place where people want to come and live and work and play, and all these people who have like myself, I grew up here, moved away, now I'm back. At one point in time, I would not have admitted that I wanted to live long term in Cincinnati, and I kind of saw it was a dying city. And now with FC Cincinnati and all the stuff they've done in OTR and the West End, Oakley, Mount Adams, Hyde Park, all that, it's just awesome, and how everybody's just coming together to build this thing and making this city a better place.
We want to hear from you, though, folks. This is your chance to have your say. 513-399-KICK, 513-399-KICK. Our own Ken standing by, ready to take your call tonight. Let's go back to the Kings Hammer hotline. Let's welcome in Mike, who wants to talk about the increase of MLS franchise fees. Mike, hello. Welcome to Cincinnati Soccer Talk.
Hey, thank you for having me. Appreciate that.
What's on your mind?
So I've got a couple of things. I want to start off by saying I kind of bring a little different perspective to this. I just moved here in October, and I moved from Peoria, Illinois. And though FC Cincinnati and all the excitement was not the lone reason I moved to Cincinnati, it was something that was super exciting for me. Once I knew that I was moving here, I was watching the games online. I was following everything. I'm a huge soccer fan, so it was awesome for me to know that, in my future home, there's such passion for this team. And I think as a 27-year-old with what I believe is 65% or so of the MLS fan base being that 18 to 35, it's huge for us. And I think when I say we, I'm talking about the 18 to 35-year-olds. I mean, in our life right now, we're expecting to continue making more and more money in our careers. We're kind of starting off right now, and backing this. We're going to continue throwing our money at this for the future. So I think it's a huge thing for Cincinnati to kind of get this MLS bid now, to have all of this passion and excitement continue for the future and all of the years to come. And if we're already spending thousands of dollars every year during the season at games and bars and restaurants around the stadium, I mean, it's just going to increase as we are making more and more money. So for me, it's something super exciting. And in some of the research, I mean, I heard a lot of people today talk about, we can wait for the next time it happens, and let's just try and get all the details hashed out. But in my research, and correct me if I'm wrong, I mean, those fees increase year after year after year. I mean, I think I saw that from 2013 to 2015, it increased almost 60%. So, I mean, those costs are just going to continue increasing. And if we're ever already having that struggle of getting approval with a privately, with them privately funding $350 million, I mean, that's just going to be even more. And who knows if these owners are going to want to take on that increase in cost in the future. So sorry, I kind of just threw a lot at your way, but those are kind of the things I wanted to bring up today. Yeah,
I mean, you do bring up a good point. The only thing that I'm concerned with is if for whatever reason, the stadium deal can't get done, and and Cincinnati is not selected as a MLS franchise in this round, they got to hope they're a part of the next two. And then outside of that, I don't know if there will be more expansion. I mean, Don Garber has made it clear they're sticking to 28, and this is kind of the time is now. They've got to put their best eggs in the basket right now and put their best foot forward to show MLS that they mean business. And so I thought it was telling too today that Mayor Cranley kind of said that if this deal doesn't get done, the city has turned their back on Major League Soccer. There's no winning the bid without a deal with the city of Cincinnati. I thought it was very telling the way he kind of phrased that today.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. And I've been following this, since the second I moved here. It's been awesome to see everyone, how passionate, how professional everyone who kind of is following FC Cincinnati has been in their communications to people. It's just been a great thing to jump into. But like I said, I think the future of cities, some of it falls on the 18 to 35-year-olds. And I think it's extremely important to kind of understand. I think as you grow older, you have different priorities. So it's understandable to me for someone who's maybe outside of that bracket to think that, okay, well, this $7 million can be used here or here or here, and that's definitely understandable. But I think when you think, what they talk about a lot is the future of Cincinnati and how this is going to bring a lot more to that area, and I think it's true. I think having that stadium in Oakland, getting this MLS franchise, and is going to be huge to that group of individuals who are going to continue to make Cincinnati their home, and allow a lot of dollars to continue being spent here in the city. So.
Well, Mike, welcome to the Queen City. We're glad you're aboard, and we thank you for calling Cincinnati Soccer Talk. Don't be a stranger, man.
All right, appreciate it. Keep up the good work.
Thank you. We appreciate you. That's Mike giving us a ring here on Cincinnati Soccer Talk. Let's go to some more calls. The phone lines are blowing up, which we kind of expected would happen tonight. That's why we decided to open up the Kings Hammer hotline. Let's welcome in Kevin, who wants to talk about how Jeff Birding is given a hard time. Kevin, welcome to Cincinnati Soccer Talk.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
We're going great. How's things for you, Kevin? You want to talk about Jeff Birding?
Yeah, I just wanted to, like a little history about myself. I didn't grow up in Cincinnati, but most of my family did, like my father and all my extended relatives. And while I was enjoying Thanksgiving over the holiday and stuff, I know a lot of people that aren't into the soccer as their primary sport, or maybe have only been to like FC Cincinnati game once or twice, or maybe not at all. The older people, and maybe somebody over 30, or maybe somebody who's just not into soccer, the only attachment they have of Jeff Birding's name is to the Bengals.
Right.
And for whatever reason, like a lot of times when I'm talking about his name and the representation of the club, the Paul Brown Stadium deal gets brought up. And I don't think that Jeff gets enough credit for what he does currently for the FC Cincinnati team. I mean, sure, he used to work for the Bengals, but that doesn't mean he was solely responsible for the Paul Brown Stadium contract. And I think he's made a good move in clearly stating where he stands with this team and saying, this is what we're willing to do. I back the ownership in providing 100% of the stadium with the help of the city for infrastructure. How can we, as a club, prove to the people around us that? I guess is what I'm saying.
Oh, you're kind of breaking in and out. We were kind of lost you there towards the end there. I think the stigma of Paul Brown Stadium it's tough to overcome. It really is. I mean, it's been a PR disaster from day one, and I think he's done a really good job. I think, and correct me, guys, if I'm wrong on this. I'll let you guys chime in on this as well. I really think he's done a good job of kind of distancing himself from Paul Brown Stadium. He could have easily probably worked out some sort of deal with Mike Brown, the Hamilton County Commissioners, to have the stadium at Paul Brown, or I'm sorry, have the FC Cincinnati play at Paul Brown Stadium. But I think he's done a good job of really distancing himself from that organization mainly because of that stigma that he's kind of got as a guy who led the charge for this stadium that's been a bad deal for Hamilton County.
I would have to agree. I know him personally on a business level. I cut his hair from time to time, but I know as far as the team is concerned, like he goes to bat with what he says, and Jeff's the kind of guy who's going to tell you how he feels, and he's going to do what he thinks is right. And I think he's done that for this club, and I don't think enough people say enough for that.
Yeah, I want to combat one stigma that I hear way too often about Jeff Birding, and that is him not being transparent or secret. I think that's really a fallacy. From the beginning of this club, he has welcomed input from every single supporter, whether it's a club level, a season ticket holder, or somebody just walking in for the first time buying a GA seat. He's opened up the club and the coaching staff to the media. He's opened them up to us, the Inquirer. He's allowed us to come to practices whenever we want. No restrictions. He allows players on this show. Heck, look at the supporters group. He invites, 20 to 30 people every month to discuss and get their input on this club and how we can make it better. And he shares with them open secrets on what they're trying to do as a club to improve this club and get them to where they need to be. So, my biggest pet peeve is, some of these people out there that, and it tends to have been some of the media from, I want to say, some of the Business Journal and not Pat Brennan or Charlie Hatch, but some Inquirer people are really just openly taking free shots at him. And I don't think it's warranted. And I think that if there's one thing we can do, it's help combat the narrative that he's been secretive when, and as a matter of fact, he's just been completely open. He's open, tons of aspects of this club up into any supporter to come walk in and see what's going on.
I think you're right, Brad. Somebody mentioned today that, when they were submitting the bid, I think it was Jeff Capel, I believe, that said, he's carrying around a white notebook that had the expansion bid in it, and he wouldn't let anybody see it. Well, what kind of business plan would that be to let all your secrets out of the bag right away? I mean, it's not public knowledge when you're submitting a MLS bid. Yes, details are being released, but that's not something that he should share right away.
I think it's just so, and I understand the feeling that comes from, being burned by a stadium deal. We've all, for the most part, lived here a significant portion of our lives. But I think to equate that simply because Jeff Birding's a part of it to being a bad stadium deal is ridiculous. And it's something that, piece by piece and step by step, both the club and the city have been making concessions. And then obviously there's the spot open in Newport. I mean, at what point are you going to let emotion ruin a great opportunity for the city just because you got burned, 20 years ago on a stadium? It's completely different. It's not even in the same arena as far as what's being offered by ownership.
I think he does get a bad rap. But I also think he's doing as supporters, I don't know if there's a better ambassador for soccer in Cincinnati right now. And I'll take that all day. I mean, I never thought we would be, we're weeks away from Cincinnati possibly being an MLS franchise. Who else could have done that in the Queen City? I don't know if anybody else could have done that. So we certainly, maybe adore is not the right word, but we are super pumped that we've got Jeff Birding on our side, being a champion of soccer here in the Queen City. So there's no question about that. Kevin, appreciate the call. We really appreciate you tuning in. Let's go back to the phones, and let's welcome in Jesse, who was at the council meeting today. Jesse, welcome to Cincinnati Soccer Talk. You're on the Kings Hammer Hotline.
Hey, guys. I just had a couple things. I went to the meeting today, and a couple of thoughts that I had about it were, one, as I sat there and listened to a lot of people say that this money could be better spent other places, for schools, for heroin epidemic, for Western Hills Viaduct. What I was glad to see was Cranley actually on camera, in front of the media, in front of an audience, actually go point by point and say why these funds don't either exist or can be used for stuff like that. The hotel tax can only be used for tourism projects. The TIFs don't exist unless anything gets built. I just thought that needed to be said out loud in front of people. I was glad he did that.
Even if
the other thing too, I think that. Go ahead.
I was going to say, even if it's said out loud, some of these people just won't believe it or don't openly listen to it because it doesn't suit their narrative.
Totally agree. And one of the other things that I appreciated being there was to see like how adversarial Sealbach can be, and Cable we all know, but I feel like they're not resonating enough with people, and that's because people like Birding and Linder have such a good name and have built up so much goodwill over these past 2 years. And I kind of saw Yvette Simpson kind of start to distance herself and want financial numbers, but you could tell she even said herself she wants to be a yes.
Yeah. Well, we'll see, right? I mean, it's going to be a couple days, but we're going to find out where these guys stand. I think the disappointing thing that when I see some of the negative reactions from the city council, particularly Chris Sealbach, is that he immediately was quick to dismiss this idea of a stadium because it was going to make white people wealthy, and I thought that was ridiculous. A ridiculous comment. I think if this was a normal, what if this was Amazon? Would we be having this debate? This deal would have been done 4 weeks ago. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys.
100%. And I don't think you get. I think another big thing is you don't have public input on a lot of the infrastructure deals that go on, and people never even know the difference. Like they mentioned today in the meeting, the one that really surprises me that nobody knew about was the whole mid-piece development in Madisonville.
Yeah. But, I mean, do you see my point? I mean, I'm not wrong in stating that. If this was a business, if this was an Amazon, I don't know, another business, UPS, somebody a big business, that this deal would have been done, right? I mean, there would have been no debate.
You also have to keep in mind that why Sealbach might be against it. This would be a humongous win for Mayor John Cranley, and I have to give it up to Yvette. And even after she lost in the recent election to John, she's still coming in with an open mind and saying how we can make this the best stadium and best plan possible. Versus Sealbach spewing venom, So yeah, he doesn't want to give his rival a victory, but while she is still willing to put, her opinions or personal feelings aside, and she wants to make this best for the city and not just leave it for, councils and, whatever they plan to do down the road. She wants to make this thing the best thing possible, set it up for future success. And I have to credit her, and it definitely earned a lot of respect in my book today.
Sealbach even said multiple times that he had no idea what he was voting for. He was throwing a fit all morning, wasn't he, Jesse? Saying, I don't know what we're voting for. I don't know what we're voting for, but yet he kept saying no. So, I mean...
Which kind of makes you wonder, did they even ask questions? Like, if the other five seemed to know what was going on, why didn't Sealbach and Sittenfeld?
Right, he didn't do his homework, obviously.
You have to think PG and what his future holds. And what does he want his resume to have that he voted for, and what does he not want to have it voted for? And if he's looking to go statewide, people in Cleveland aren't going to be thinking about, was this actually a really good deal as a privately financed stadium? They're going to see, he voted for taxpayer funds for a stadium, even though that's not necessarily true. So you've got to think there, and I just wish he would come up with a little more open mind and try to make this thing the best thing possible. And he could. He might vote against it, but then he might come to the table and try to work to make sure that implementation is a success. So we'll see, but definitely more against Sealbach's attitude than I would say PG's.
Jesse, we appreciate the call. Thanks for holding. Thanks for your patience tonight.
Thanks, guys.
It's Jesse on the King's Hammer Hotline. We've got lines open 513-399-KICK. This is your chance, FC Cincinnati fans, to have your say about the stadium, about anything related to FC Cincinnati. We haven't even gotten to the new player additions, which I'm sure we will here in just a moment. Again, we've got lines open. Again, that number 513-399-KICK. If you don't want to call in, you could always send us your tweets. We've got guys who are watching the Facebook stream. I've been watching the YouTube stream as well. While we take a moment, I got to give a big shout out and thanks to our supporters. Now, it's not the first week of the month. I'll be reading each and every supporter's name next week because I do that the first week of the month. But I just have to say, on Friday, we did a little special Black Friday deal where I matched every single new supporter that we got on Friday and Saturday, and was going to match that with a donation to Sports Games for Kids, to our good friend Tom Grabo. And I'm proud to say that we got $135 more of support from our fans. So thank you very much for that. I made my donation this afternoon to Tom Grabo. So again, thank you to everybody for supporting us. You can do that by going over to CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com/support. Have to give a big shout out and thanks to, these are our $20 donors per month. So I got to give a big shout out and thanks to Matt Adamchick, Tim Bronsel at King's Hammer, Mama Subs, Pat Suberling, Brian Malone, Jamie Smed, Mike Hudson, Jonas Tom, Jack Emery, our episode captain this week, Mike Bowman, and Jesse Gill. So thank you, gentlemen and lady, mom, for your support. Again, go to CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com/support. And hey, speak of the devil, we've got the one and only Tom Grabo on the line on the King's Hammer hotline. Tom, what's up, buddy?
Hey, guys. How's everybody doing?
We're doing fantastic, man. What a night. I mean, Monday nights are perfect. We get to talk about soccer. We get to talk about Cincinnati. Does it get any better than this, man?
It does when you get to talk about a city council meeting where the vote was a yes. So, I know it's not the official vote, but, hey, I think it's good. It's definitely a good Monday.
So it looks like you finally got free from your dinner party tonight. So where are you now?
Yeah. Hotel room in Wheeling, West Virginia. So that's unfortunately the reason why I couldn't make it to the meeting in person, but I was sure to watch the WLWT live Facebook broadcast and correct all the, let's just say, uninformed comments on their Facebook thread.
The sprawling metropolis that is Wheeling, West Virginia. All right. So when you watched today, what was going through your mind?
Well, it was funny to see how many people were so passionate about it that I'm sorry to say they just haven't done the research. It's weird to me when people stand up and say, "Wait, how has this not been addressed?" or "Why has this not been done?" And you still get it, especially of course, on all social media feeds. You still get the Paul Brown questions and the Nippert questions, yeah. And it's just, how can you be so passionate about them not moving and still have not done? I mean, that's not even research at this point. That's just, you got to close your eyes not to see why either of those options won't work. I don't get it. And then to see people stand up there at these public forums where they actually get to address the politicians making these important decisions, and they still ask questions that most of us, anyone who's honestly, well, let's just say it, anyone who's been watching Cincy Soccer Talk would already know. They don't. How do you not know that some of these funds they can't combat the heroin epidemic? They can't be used for the Brent Spence Bridge. I mean, it's just, you know, these things, and they still stand up there and say, "Well, we still don't know," and act like it's let's say cloaked in secrecy. It's disappointing to see that, and that's one of the things where I sit here in Wheeling, wishing I could be there at that city council meeting, but glad we have people like Max and Brian making their arguments, the sensible arguments, I would say. But yeah, that's where I'm at right now.
Well, we appreciate you calling in, and hope you enjoyed that check I wrote today. Spend it wisely, okay, my friend?
Yeah. Yes, I want to say thank you so much for that. We are we're doing a Cyclones game on the 9th.
Nice.
That's going to be a big one. And then, after that, we'll probably do one more Cyclones game before we get back to FC Cincinnati season next year. So that's exciting. Looking forward to that. But I did want to talk real quick. I know I'm going on too long, but I wanted to talk. The biggest point I want everybody to realize, and Jeff Birding said it very clearly, and there were still people asking questions. The money they're asking for, it's not going to be spent unless two conditions are met. Number one, we have to receive the MLS bid. And number two, we have to receive the MLS bid and have the full funding plan in place. If anyone watched that live feed, if anyone watched what happened at that city council, a lot of the councilors kept asking, what would happen if we didn't get that fund? Are we going to build a road halfway there and then just have gravel? No, don't be ridiculous. We're not going to do anything like that. They have to find the full funding before they receive a cent from the city or the council or the county. So please have faith in our our leadership. We're not going to do anything ridiculous like what they were proposing. We're going to do the whole thing. We're going to do the whole thing right.
Tom Grabo dropping knowledge bombs. I like it, Tommy.
Thanks, buddy. You guys have a good one. Take care.
You too. Safe travels back, all right?
Will do. Thanks.
It's the Cincy superfan, Tom Grabo, giving us a ring here on the King's Hammer hotline. I'll tell you what, these phone lines are blowing up, gentlemen. I know Joseph hasn't said much for about 45 minutes. Neither has Griff. But, hey, this is a good thing, right, guys? I mean, we've got people calling in. This is their show, right?
Right. This is easy paycheck.
Yeah, you're gonna have to double my salary
Yeah.
for the lack of talk time I'm getting, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's something to be said for the support that was shown. Realistically, as much as we all have our opinions on where it should be, I think either site that's left, Newport or Cincy, can facilitate us getting granted an MLS bid. And I guess there hasn't been there's a lot of speculation about just getting Oakley on the table. But Newport's there. So, what's lost in all of this is it'll be disappointing for a lot of people if we don't get the stadium pushed through in Cincinnati. But I don't think personally that'll be the end all be all if the road stops here on Wednesday, which is not what I expect. But I think there's a realistic possibility that it ends in Newport, and there's a very strong possibility if it ends in Newport that it can still be successful.
I hope you're right, Joseph. I really do. Let's go back to the King's Hammer hotline. Let's welcome a friend of the show in, Kevin, joining us here on the King's Hammer hotline. Kevin, welcome to CST. Maybe if my computer decides to work. There we go. That should work. Now, Kevin, welcome to the show.
Hey, how are we doing tonight, guys?
How's my favorite sign guy?
Doing good. Got a field trip coming in tomorrow morning, so
I'm jealous.
Always happening at the museum. Yeah. I just had 2 points I wanted to hit on with the stadium thing today. I think it's important if you are a supporter of FC Cincinnati and their plans to make it to MLS, that fans really support our efforts, the club's efforts. I say our because I'm very much a part of Build It Here. But the effort to get this stadium in Cincinnati, it does nothing but benefits the club in giving them more options. And I know just about everybody wants the West End site, and if you've been carefully reading some of the statements from Birding, and you go back and listen to some of the statements they gave today, it's very clear that whatever deal they get from the city and county does not lock them into Oakley. It gives them a bargaining chip in looking at the West End. So do not be surprised if the West End becomes a very real possibility after the funding is secured. So if that is your preferred site, to borrow a phrase from a friend, the road to the West End is paved through Oakley. So if you were holding out because you didn't like Oakley, you prefer Newport over Oakley, but West End was your number one site, this is how you get it to the West End. Just look at some of their statements. Look at the club statement they released after the vote today. You'll notice they say, we love Oakley, or any neighborhood we might go to. So just keep an eye out on that one.
Yeah.
And my last point here, just real quick, is a part of Build It Here. Absolutely, been trying to support what I can there. But I'm also a member of the Pride supporters group, and I just wanted to say a big shout out to the Pride stepping up today. Saw a lot of Pride scarves at the city council meeting today. And we even had a moment there where all three of the public speakers up there were wearing Pride scarves. So, just good showing from my supporters group. Love it, and love what you guys do as well. So, thank you.
Appreciate it, Kevin. Looking forward to it. We got to get back down there for a live show at the Sign Museum.
Oh, guys, we just upped our internet pipe. We could probably pull it off a little easier than what we did last time.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Episode 100's coming up.
That's true. We do have a big one coming up here in January, so stay tuned. Kev, appreciate the call, man.
Let's keep it going. Thanks, guys.
That's Kevin Wallace, our sign guy. He's the man. One of the guys, the driving guys behind the live show we did earlier this summer, the night before that Fire game, when I correctly predicted that FC Cincinnati would win at penalty kicks and that Mitch Hildebrand would be a huge hero for this club. Remember that, Brad? I think you were there.
At the Sign Museum, yes.
Yeah, you predicted what?
The loss. Dude, I know. Wait, come out. First, well, hold on 1 second. I picked a 3-1 loss every single episode I was on before the Open Cup game, and look what we did. So I just kept it rolling.
Thank you, Brad. Thank you.
Dude, I had one job to do, and I made sure to do it to the best of my ability.
Oh, that was great. That was a fun night. So the phone lines have simmered down. Let's talk about the new player signings, shall we, guys? Yosef, why don't you lead us off? You've been waiting anxiously. What do you got over there? Fill us in on who the newest additions are to FC Cincinnati.
Well, the one that I have, the shiny new gift that Christmas came early for, in my opinion, is Tyler Gibson, who will likely, and if I had any say about it, be the third cog in the midfield alongside Kenny Walker and Corbin Bone. Last year, he played with NASL Championship team, the San Francisco Deltas, who unfortunately folded. Their loss is our gain. I found watching some film, as far as Tyler Gibson goes, he is the same sort of hockey. I refer to them as hockey assist players, where he initiates the play before the play, much like Kenny Walker does. Also, he'll be a little bit more defensively minded, but when they signed him, I thought back to when we had Kenny Walker on, and I asked him, how did the role of the mid? How do you decide the midfield role? Who's attacking? Who's defending? And he let us know it was sort of a carousel where they flow freely, and they cover one another when someone else is moving further up the field. So I think he'll be the perfect piece, and we were missing that piece last year, obviously. So I'm looking forward to seeing him starting this year.
Dude, Gibson has a motor like no other. This might not have been the most flashy of signings that we will see this year, have seen or to come, but I am 100% convinced when we wrap up the season with the USL title at the middle of November next year, we will look back in this season and say that Tyler Gibson was the best signing of the offseason.
He's a signing I'm excited about. The central defensive midfielder spot is something I think we needed to address. Well, the midfield in general is something that needed to be addressed. They started in the back, and that signing, coming over from a championship caliber squad over there in San Francisco, Griff, you got to be excited about that signing.
Right. I mean, we signed some pretty impressive defenders as well, but like I said all along, you can't rely on your back line. You got to have that defense in the midfield. And, Kenny and Corbin really needed some help out there. Unfortunately, some of our, signings from last year weren't gifted. But, when I see Gibson, when I picture Gibson lined up next to Kenny, I'm really looking forward to watching them to, improve their chemistry, play together, and hopefully solidify that midfield.
For more information about the latest signings, you can check out our website, CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com. We'll have the latest and greatest, because there will be more signings, believe it or not. That's the best part, is that all of these signings have kind of gone, they've been clouded over with all this stadium talk that we've had with FC Cincinnati. So believe it or not, we've brought in some talented guys for this squad here this offseason, and Coach Koch is doing his best to upgrade what was already, we thought, was a pretty talented roster that might have underachieved a year ago in USL play. I think he's really building this team to have a big year here in USL coming up here in 2018. man, that hour flew. I can't believe how fast it went. A lot of it was due to the calls. A lot of it was due to, the stadium discussion today at City Council. I feel like we didn't get as in-depth when it comes to the players as we needed to. But again, as I said, check out CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com for more information on that. It's time we begin to wrap things up. We'll go with our final thoughts. I'll start with you, Brad Weigel.
Today was a great day for fans of soccer in FC Cincinnati, and I'm just looking forward to see what this brings. I think that FC Cincinnati is really cast their lot in the city of Cincinnati. I just don't see how there's a way that we can move forward with the Newport site. FC Cincinnati and Jeff Birding, they've used a lot of public capital with some of these council members coming out there and being for this stadium, and I think that's something Jeff Birding's going to remember, and they're going to need to remember, with all this goodwill they've built. So I'm interested to see how they can progress at the Oakley site, whether other options are on the table within Cincinnati, and how we can build this stadium here for not just our generation, but for future generations to come and see the squad. So I'm looking forward to the next couple weeks. Hopefully we'll have a good answer mid to late December, and we can put this all behind us and start focusing on some soccer here soon.
It'll be here before you know it, Brad. Believe it or not, it's crazy. Good stuff as always. Appreciate you being with us tonight, and I hope you and your family had a wonderful Thanksgiving.
Thanks, Nick.
Griffin and Angry Brian, your final thoughts as we wrap up.
I want to give a shout out to Harrison Delbridge. It was officially announced today that he's joining in aspirations of making the national team for his homeland of Australia. He's always going to have a special place at FCC, being one of the first signings. I was always excited to watch him play. I hope the best for him, but I'm also excited to see some new faces as well with Barrett and Lasso. So that'll be fun to watch those three gel on the back line. And then to wrap up my final thoughts, we're having some great discussions on social media. We're engaging with a lot of the city, and most of them may not be educated fans of the beautiful game. So let's all remember, to take the high road in some of these borderline arguments. And one comes to mind is, I don't really think it's worth our energy to argue FC or FCC. So let's just take the high road on some of these discussions and welcome them with open arms.
Oh, that FC bothers me so much. Oh my gosh.
It bothers me too, Subs, but I just don't want to make a bad impression on a first time fan,
Yeah. Well, I think that ship sailed as much as we've tried. My crusade failed miserably this summer when I asked Tommy G to talk to his media brethren about calling it FC, but it is what it is. Griff, appreciate you being on the show, and I'm a little disappointed in you that you did not have a different opposite angry Brian head or a nice Brian head on the right side of your wall there.
I was a little busy at work today with the whole meeting and catching up with emails after the break, so I might have one for next episode.
We love it. Appreciate it, man. Hope you and your family had a good Thanksgiving as well.
Thanks, Nick.
And last but not least, the one and only Yosef Sagai. Your final thoughts as we begin to wrap up?
Yeah, my final thoughts kind of fall in line with Griff's in that, but for a different player. We saw a starting caliber goalkeeper, Spencer Ritchie, get signed to the team this year. So on loan, I should say, not signed.
On loan from Vancouver, yeah.
From Vancouver. So he was outstanding when he played over for Whitecaps too. And I don't know if this spells the end for Mitch Hildebrandt. It's certainly a possibility, though. If that comes to fruition, it's going to be tough to say goodbye. I think him along with Delbridge are probably, one of the top two, if not at the very most three faces of the franchise. So, if we end up saying goodbye to Mitch, he's going to be a hero for this team, and we'll always have some fond memories of him. And that's we'll always want to thank him for that. However brief the 2 years may feel, when you crusade and start with a team and become, quite honestly, like you have your own T-shirts coming out and everyone knows your name. It'll be tough to say goodbye, but it's an interesting signing, and who knows, it can be competitive goalkeeping matchup competition, but we shall see, right?
We shall see. And good stuff there. I echo those sentiments about Mitch. Nobody's going to take away that shootout against the Chicago Fire. We'll always have that, right, Yosef?
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, I still watch that highlight sometimes when I'm bored. Just not even with the commentating, just the quiet and the crowd. It's amazing. It still gives me chills. So.
You know what else gives me chills, Yosef? You being on the show. Thank you for being with us this week.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me on.
We did get this question in the YouTube comments. Sean Okoli not going back to New York City FC. Any chance he returns to the Queen City?
No.
Yeah, I didn't think so either. Brad, did
he
you
hasn't
want to
played for the Vancouver Whitecaps yet, so probably not.
Yeah, Brad, that's what I put on Reddit today. I said, does he have any caps for Vancouver?
It's just a little much. It's a little much. I mean, I know they went to the conference finals, and I do trust Allen, and I'm being joking because I definitely would love to have the a former USL Player of the Year, but I just don't know how he fits in this system.
Yeah, I'm with you. It'd be nice, but it's not likely going to happen. I'm sure another MLS team is going to swoop him up. That's just my guess, though. So, good stuff.
I think we can do better. I think we can do bigger. I think we're going to do bigger and better.
Yeah,
I agree, Brett.
No, I'm with you guys. So, good stuff tonight, gentlemen. Appreciate you being with us. Big thanks to Ken Hetker, who screened our calls tonight. Also, big thanks to our episode captain, Jack Emery. Jack, thank you for wearing the armband on tonight's show. We appreciate it. If you are interested in supporting this podcast and our website, make sure you get over to CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com/support. And next week, we will be reading each and every single supporter's name here on the show. So you make sure you get signed up today, CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com/support. And hey, if you don't want to contribute financially, that's totally fine. You could support us in other ways. How about rating our show on iTunes, leaving us a review? That's one way you could do it as well. CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com/iTunes is where you can do that. All right, that's going to do it for episode 93 of Cincinnati Soccer Talk. My thanks to Brad Weigel, Griffin, and Yosef Sagai. I'm Subs, reminding you to watch your tackles, and we will catch you all next week.